Good morning. It's Friday, the 15th of October. Our main story is that foreign lorry drivers will be allowed to make more deliveries in the UK under new government measures to ease the pressure on supply chains.
Currently, overseas workers can only make 2 trips to Britain a week. Under the new rules, they'll be allowed to make unlimited journeys in a 2-week period.
Meanwhile, 800 temporary visas for butchers and abattoir workers will also be granted to help with the backlog at pig farms. Our political correspondent Jonathan Blake has more.
Thousands of extra visas have been offered to HGV drivers from abroad in an attempt to ease pressure on supply chains in the UK. But only a fraction of them have been issued. So now the government's going further in a move it hopes will allow thousands of extra deliveries per month. Drivers from the EU are normally restricted to making 2 deliveries within 7 days. But those rules will be relaxed to allow unlimited trips within a fortnight.
This will bring, I think, some significant additional capacity to deliveries to the HGV fleet, because some of those EU fleets will be able to do more return jobs here in the UK.
It's hoped food supply chains will be boosted by the move, with more goods being moved at a time of high demand. But the haulage industry is worried that while it might take the pressure off in the run-up to Christmas, UK firms could lose out to cheaper EU rivals. Pig farming is another sector that's been struggling, with thousands of healthy animals slaughtered without being processed for meat. But there's relief at the government's move to allow 800 foreign butchers into the UK and provide more cold storage.
We needed butchers in these processing plants 12 weeks ago now. We, as farmers, should never have been put in this position. This really wasn't our problem. This was a processing problem, and we've been left to deal with the whole emotional and financial issues.
Farmers say the action is long overdue, but ministers deny acting too late. The government insists in the long term UK wages and working standards will need to rise to meet these challenges. But for now they've been left with no choice but to rely on foreign labour. Jonathan Blake, BBC News.
Yes, we will be speaking more about this throughout the morning this morning, speaking to people involved in the industry itself. Also, 7:30 this morning, speaking to Transport Secretary Grant Shapps. So we'll try and clarify some of the rules around what will be happening.
Rules for travellers returning to England will be relaxed in time for the half-term holidays.
From the 24th of October, fully vaccinated people will be able to use private lateral flow tests to prove their COVID status, rather than relying on the more expensive PCR test. Transport Secretary said it would make travel easier and simpler.
Meanwhile, West Berkshire Council has confirmed that some PCR tests carried out at one of its sites have returned false negative results. People who were tested at the Newbury Showground between the 3rd and 12th of October are now being urged to get retested, along with their close contacts. Health officials are expected to give more details today, amid concerns that other sites in the southwest of England may also be affected.
Almost 13,000 cases involving allegations of domestic abuse in England and Wales have been dropped over the past 5 years because prosecutors ran out of time to bring charges within the 6-month time limit.
Figures obtained by BBC News also suggest that while more common assaults involving domestic violence are being reported, fewer cases are being brought to trial. Our political correspondent Alex Forsyth has more.
I didn't know or understand what I was going through. I genuinely believed it was my fault. I kept asking myself, what is it that I keep doing wrong that makes them behave like this?
A year ago, Erica started a campaign to support survivors of domestic abuse, something she says that's very personal.
When there were the good days, I'd be like, okay, I've done something right. And then when there was something going wrong, I'd say to myself, this is what I've done wrong. I am being punished for my own mistakes. And getting out of that mindset is what led me to eventually leave this relationship.
Erica made a report of domestic abuse to the police, but was told no one could be charged because too much time had passed.
Coming forward for me was one of the biggest things I've ever done in my life. To sit down and say to someone that doesn't know me that these are the things that happened to me. 6 months isn't enough time to even fathom that sort of experience.
The current law allows 6 months between the time an alleged common assault takes place and someone being charged. The idea is to keep justice moving in offences the system deems less serious. But campaigners say when it comes to domestic abuse, that's not long enough because it can take years for victims to feel able to come forward or for police to build a case. In the past 5 years in England and Wales, there were almost 13,000 cases of common assault involving domestic abuse that were never charged because that 6-month time limit was breached. And while over that period the number of these cases being reported went up, the number resulted in someone being charged went down. Some want a change in the law to allow more time for domestic abuse cases to get to court.
I think this is another example of where the law, the criminal justice system, simply doesn't get violence against women and girls. We need recognition from the government of how serious this is, how you've got so many domestic abuse survivors and victims just being timed out because the law is wrong and unfair.
Ministers have said before they will consider this issue, which the government says it takes seriously. In a statement, a spokesman said all allegations should be investigated and pursued rigorously through the courts where possible. And they pointed out there's no time limit on reporting other crimes, such as bodily harm or those that add up to coercive behaviour. Meanwhile, police chiefs say that 6-month limit only affects a small proportion of cases, but they say there is particular concern around those involving domestic abuse, and they're supporting the government in analysing the issue to ensure victims achieve justice.
I used to spend a lot of time to myself just to reflect, to calm down.
Erica says it's a case she will keep on making.
Using my story as my strength has been the biggest thing for me, to be able to tell my story with confidence, but using it as power to basically fight back against the law and hopefully change the law has been one of the most important things to me.
Alex Forsyth reporting there, and details of organisations offering information and support are available, and a whole list of organisations that can help if any of the issues in that report have affected you at bbc.co.uk/action line.
Former US President Bill Clinton has been receiving hospital treatment in California for a non-COVID related infection. Spokesperson for the 75-year-old said he is on the mend and in good spirits after being admitted on Tuesday. His doctors said he'd received antibiotics and fluids and remained in hospital for continuous monitoring.
It's been a long wait for Adele fans, but the singer has finally released her first new music in 6 years. The song is called Easy on Me, and the video has had nearly 10 million views since being uploaded to YouTube at midnight. But enough from us, let's hear it now. It's the first track from her fourth album, 30, which is due out on the 19th of November. Adele says it reflects the inner turmoil she experienced after her divorce in 2019. The reaction on social media has been impressive from fans, and we're going to hear from more of them throughout the morning.
Our former rugby player Hugo Monia will miss this week strictly because of a back injury.
Now, he tweeted that doctors had advised him to rest and promised to return fighting fit for next week's show. It comes a day after Robert Webb pulled out of the series. The actor, who'd had open heart surgery a couple of years ago, said he realised he'd bitten off more than he could chew.
Now, Banksy artwork, which was shredded itself at a previous auction, has sold for a record £16 million.
It's called Love is in the Bin, and it's what remained of the artist's life destruction of his piece Girl with Balloon. Now, that sold for £1 million in 2018. It went under the hammer at Sotheby's in London, selling for vastly over its guide price. Do you remember, Charlie, yesterday we were saying, I think the guide price initially was £3.5 million, and then it went up, and now it's gone for 16 million. And we were discussing, weren't we, whether or not, how to improve art is just to trash it.
Well, it's made it more valuable.
16 times more valuable.
On this occasion.
16 times more valuable.
Yeah, it has.
No one's suggesting you trash any pieces of art in the house, but...
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.